I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Brown.
Thank you, Dr. Rice. My temperature today was 97.3. So I just want everybody to know that we are doing that. So the first slide, we started back in June. Just want to get an overview of key dates and response efforts. So we surveyed every staff in the division, about 2,000. We did get about 1,531 responses from our staff, which we think is a pretty good return. We asked them, first of all, I wanted to kind of see the level and the department. You can kind of see it on this first graph here, and that does represent our staff in our building. This next slide is the number returning. So we wanted to, what is your position? We wanted to kind of get a breakdown of the position, and we wanted to know who's going to come back, because remember, this was done in June. People were planning to retire, planning to resign. So we wanted to get exact number of those staff members that were planning to return to SPS. This next number, is very important. This next slide is, are you comfortable returning back to the site? Just very simple question. I mean, because we know people had a lot of anxieties back in June, so we needed to know just what their comfort level was. Doesn't necessarily mean that, okay, yes, we're going to allow you not to come, but we wanted to know, what do we have to do? Do we have to educate? We have to inform people about what's going on, but we wanted to know their comfort level. So about 56% was yes. They were very comfortable coming back. We had 34% maybe. These were the ones, well, we're not quite sure what the plan is. Some uncertain. Remember, this again was in June when we took this survey, and about 10% were no, said absolutely no. This question here, doesn't see the whole thing there, but we had to be very careful with how we worded this question. We wanted to know if any of them had the underlying conditions that would prohibit them from returning or working in the classroom. And that we included child care in this. We included all of the underlying conditions that the CDC recommended. So 52 responded no, meaning that they didn't have any concern, they didn't have any of those things that would keep them from returning face-to-face. About 47% stated yes, that they had something. We didn't ask particulars at this point. We just wanted to get a general feel for who could come back and who maybe not be able to come back. Again, this was the entire division. This particular this survey was given in July the 20th. And so we asked, this was surveyed to teachers, because now what we're trying to do, okay, who can come back face-to-face? Because we had to do a schedule for the kids. Now we need to know what teachers had underlying conditions, so we were very strategic about asking this question. So we surveyed about, I would say about 1,100 teachers. We had 852 responded to this survey. I got 3 on Monday, so the survey is still open, and it's a live living survey, so when they respond, I'm putting them in whatever their responses are. So right now, we're about 858, and this slide was done the other day, but we're about 858. So 643, yes, we planned it. We're okay with coming face-to-face. 170 stated no. And that's about 1 out of every 5 teachers is planning to come back, did not want to feel comfortable coming back face-to-face. And so we also asked, and we wanted to know what their comfort level was with the virtual learning platform to provide the instruction. So if you wanted to be virtual teacher, but do you have the skills? Are you comfortable? Are you confident in the ability to provide virtual? And you can see that we had 40% was 5, meaning extremely confident. So a lot of our teachers are extremely confident, very confident, and kind of moderate. So we had a few that had 9 that said 1, and 32 that was 2. But that helps us as we're planning for professional development, things of that nature. Now, we wanted to kind of get a breakdown, okay, what is the position that you're teaching? Because what we were doing, we sorted all of this information as we looked at, okay, who's available, who's not available, and this is a pretty good breakdown, and this was all of the positions, and so it's about 11 of them. So what you're seeing is the breakdown. Of course, the general education teacher is 66% and 15% for the special education. The rest of them are represented in the small graphs. Now, this slide here, these are some options for staff. But first of all, we wanted everyone to know that the well-being of our staff is the heart of the decision-making. And we don't just say this, we practice this every single day. Dr. Gordon stated about the quarantine and what we were doing with staff. I have a list of people that have one of these situations or not. I called every one of them. I don't just want to send an email. I just don't. Somebody on my staff is going to have a conversation, what's going on, give me the details, how can we help you, and it helped them. And so we strive to do that. And we're calling people on Saturday, we're calling them on Sunday, because we need our staff to know we care. And that's what we're continuing to do. We want them to know that. Balance the desire to return with the risk. I'm giving Dr. Gordon this is where we are, Dr. Gordon. We had a large number of people, that may have, that has been exposed. And so I'm keeping the superintendent informed so he can make decisions from there. And also, the first thing, we want to ensure that we can meet the needs of our schools. And this is what I'm sharing with the staff. Everyone who wants to teach virtually, we're looking at that. I've shared that with the principals. Look at your schedule. Look at the needs of your buildings. Are you able to accommodate this request? If the answers are yes, Dr. Gordon, this particular school has 10 teachers that need to teach virtual. We see no problem with meeting needs of the students. I have the appropriate documentation to support that need. Move forward, Brown. And that's how we plan to do things. And we've always done it that way. We know we're going to have to make some accommodations. Virtual teacher or teleworking. This is for staff that may not, that may be able to do some things at home. We got administrators that are teleworking, that may want to telework. Guidance counselors. Utilizing larger classrooms. This is for individuals who, I've had individuals say, yes, I have diabetes, but I'm healthy. I run every day. My numbers are great. But if I can put them in a larger classroom to increase the social distance, that will be a perfect accommodation for them versus a normal, smaller classroom. Other assigned duties. This is for some of our support staff. Some of them may have to help us in other areas. This is a new norm. Schedule adjustments. This could be for some of our custodians that may have some of these situations. I think we mentioned that earlier, to where instead of working during the school hours with kids, maybe they might want to work when the kids leave. That's something that could help, and they feel comfortable doing that. Modify job responsibilities. All of these things we have to look at, and we're having conversations. Our principals are having conversations. We're conversating with cabinet. So all of this information is going to be used to make decisions. Now, the big question, I think we had a lot of questions last month about leave management and options. Dr. Rice talked to you about if they're exposed, if they're diagnosed, or if they have symptoms. Telework if you can. I've been exposed, but I'm a teacher or I'm a guidance counselor. I can telework, Dr. Brown. No problem. Let's set up a situation so you can telework, virtual teaching or whatever for those 10 or 14 days. If they're too sick, of course, we won't require that they telework, but a lot of them have not been exposed. They've been around someone that's been positive or had or may have, so they're not necessarily sick, but we don't want them in the building if they've had that contact. So they're healthy and they're well, so they can telework from home. If the staff is not able to telework, we've done this, 10 days on administrative leave with pay. Not one single person has been docked or has been required to use leave, and they haven't had symptoms. But we don't want to risk them exposing that, so we give them that 10 days and that 14 days if they're needed to make sure they're clear to come back and they have a test. Also, leave management option. This is for child care. These are for some of people who are impacted, their daycare are impacted by COVID-19. So there's a Family First Coronavirus Response Act. This allows us to, if they can't come because their daycare is no longer there, they can remain home up to 14 days. at a partial of their pay. That's the caveat to that, and of course, these are people who may not be able to telework or what have you. Now, they're not going to be required to work if they take that option. I haven't had anyone to utilize that, but that is an option for them.